Well, you'd think after having lived almost 7.5 decades that I'd have answers. I spent a lot of my life trying to figure out what's going on inside, largely by judging myself based on what I see going on in other people's lives from the outside. So essentially judging my inside to everybody else's outsides. It still leaves one with mostly unanswered questions.
There are no words to describe and outline what this journey is all about. And that if we're going to make a difference in each other's lives, we've got to find a way to share those deeply held feelings and emotions, insights, by living the life we live. I began to realize, if not now, when. So it began. First, I made work in the privacy of my studio, documenting through photographs the creative process. The dialogue, in the absence of words, was visual, was painstakingly developed with the understanding that the human condition necessitates that we derive meaning from the implications we are presented with. The light, the shadow, the sounds, the intention, the movement, the absence of movement. All of these are tools that as audience we derive meaning. We recognize more of an individual's intent by watching their face than by listening to their words. So the early work was an exploration of nonverbal communications with the audience, with self. It started with self. But it also frequently recognized the impact of the world around us. So 3 Role Poles to Enlightenment was about the life of 2 people joined for decades. One passes and leaves the other behind. Enlightenment in that moment quantifies the true love and caring concern these individuals have had as they struggled through their life's journey. Another piece that evolved was Prodigal. Prodigal was a direct response to the loss of my son and the hope that one day he would return. Prodigal involved a series of movements, a series of acts to symbolize, to create metaphor, to create meaning that allowed the audience to deduce from their own life experiences the intent. Zilch was created in response to the Elie Wiesel book Night, which details his experience as a child during the Holocaust, the loss of his family, the trauma and the nightmare of the Holocaust. What Zilch created was a visceral discussion. It transported audience from a street in the city of St. Louis to the concentration camps in the midst of the Holocaust. Fog Dog was an exploration inspired by a painting at the Getty Museum. This royal painting of this noble man dressed in a silk red robe was powerful. His face appeared to be overwhelmed by the robe itself and his Renaissance collar. It occurred to me that his position and his good fortune perhaps denied the very humanity, the very human nature of who he was. So Fog Dog became an exploration of how power can in fact destroy one's own humanity. The final scene of Fog Dog sees the representation of this man descending from above, shrouded ultimately in veils of cloth, as the journey is ended. Man in the Box revisits a whole range of projects that began back in 1979 with a piece called Boxes that was performed at Franklin Furnace. Over the decades, I've revisited this subject numerous times. The last performance of Man in the Box at ODC Theater in San Francisco was the most complex. It too is a story of a person's life, the struggles that he experienced, the losses of family that were inevitable, and the ultimate resolution as the two characters are reunited in a merger of souls at the very end. So, in this roughly 7.5 decades, I still find myself asking more questions than my ability to provide answers. I take some degree of pride and comfort in knowing that I'm still asking questions. And the complexity of the questions and the importance of the responses go beyond the personal. And so when I explore my meaning, when any of us explore our meaning, it has global implications. I wish I had more answers, but I'm really happy to be asking these questions.